Pretty exciting week in the world of Google AI. Let me start with a really cool and fun one. The Google Maps team launched a free flight simulator inside Google Earth, right in your browser. You can fly anywhere in the world, probably your hometown, maybe the Grand Canyon, maybe you fly over Mount Everest, whatever, wherever you want. Absolutely no install, no download required. How cool is that? I'll come back to this at the end and show you how you can go ahead and try it. But before we get there, Google also had a pretty busy week beyond the fun stuff. Let me walk you through everything that we will cover in this video. So we'll start with all the news about Google Open Standards. I'm calling it Open Agent Standard Week because in just a few days, Google dropped 4 really important updates on the agent protocol stack. First is A2A. It actually turned 1 year old this week. Then we got 3 brand new architectural patterns for connecting agents to user interfaces, A2UI and MCP working together. Then they also released something called as Agentic Resource Discovery with 10 industry partners. I also dropped a full deep dive video on it earlier. Also, they launched Open Knowledge Framework, which is OKF. I also made a deep dive video on that as well. We'll leave the link in description. Gemini CLI no longer exists. It has moved officially yesterday to Antigravity CLI. And if you're still running the Gemini command, you have already been moved over. Then I want to talk about the Kaggle 5-day vibe coding course, which is concluding today. Capstone goes live tonight, and there are 5 free Google white papers that come with it, which are very good. Then we'll talk about Google's AMIE model that just hit physician-level performance on disease management. This was published in Nature this week. This is a pretty big deal. Then we'll talk about DeepMind, which is actually happening with the UK government to help them build houses, real houses. So this is like a practical use case of how AI can actually help. And then we'll bring back the flight simulator at the end. Okay? A real quick disclaimer, all opinions are my own and do not belong to my employer. With that, let's get into it. Let me walk you through Open Agent Standards Week one by one. There were actually 4 really important updates from Google in just about a week. So the first one is about agent-to-agent protocol. And if you don't know what A2A is, it's the protocol that lets agents from different companies talk to each other and then hand off tasks, right? So just over a year ago, Google created this and donated it to the Linux Foundation. And this week on June 18th, it officially turned 1 year old. So now what you're seeing on the screen is the anniversary blog post from their end. And what is really cool about this is they actually highlighted a very cool application called FoldRun, which is an example of how an agentic interface in the life sciences space can be used, right? So basically, scientists are able to ask very interesting questions like predict the structure of this particular protein, and FoldRun orchestrates a bunch of specialist agents under the hood to actually do the work. It's really a great example of A2A in production. And the bigger picture here is A2A is no longer just a spec, right? There are over 150 different organizations who are actually using this and putting stuff like this in production. The use cases are already across the board. So I have not made a full-blown video on A2A. If you guys are interested, please do let me know in the comment section if you would want me to create a deep dive on this. I would love to do a proper walkthrough on A2A. All right. So that was the first one. Now, the next one is a pretty interesting one as well. This is where they dropped a blog around 3 architectural patterns, which is around MCP and A2UI, combining them, right? They've been following along. A2UI is how agents actually generate user interfaces declaratively, and MCP is how agents call tools, right? So these have been somewhat separate things, and that is what they talk about this here. And this post does is it tells you how to combine them. So the first pattern is called using A2UI over MCP servers. This is where you will use your MCP tool to return a UI directly, not just data. So your host app, whether that's React, Flutter, Angular, whatever, renders it natively, right? So that is the first pattern. And you can see here, they've shown the demo application right here, where you can pick a cooking style and click a button and the recipe card comes back, right? So that's the first pattern. So the second pattern is really running MCP apps inside the A2UI component. This is for when you need something custom, like a game with real-time state, right? So you wrap the MCP app inside an A2UI component. So they show a very interesting application here, like a Pong game demo here, where the paddle and the ball lives inside the MCP app, but the scoreboard is native A2UI. and the state actually is syncing between them. And that's pretty cool, right? So that's the second pattern that they showed. And obviously, there's a lot more details around this. So the third pattern is running A2UI inside the MCP apps, right? So this is the modernization bridge. So if you have a legacy system that supports MCP apps, but not A2UI natively, you package the A2UI renderer inside the MCP app itself. So again, they show another cool example here where it's like a document editor where you can highlight text and then it gives you a context aware answer to it, right? So what this means for you is if you're building agentic apps, you no longer have to choose between native rendering and custom iframe environments. And again, if you want me to go deeper into all of these patterns and make a full deep dive video on this, please let me know. I'll be happy to work through the code and go and create a deeper dive video on this. Okay. So that's the second one that I wanted to cover. Now, on the same day, they also announced Agentic Resource Discovery, or ARD, which is the spec for how agents discover what tools and other resources. Within resources, there could be agents itself or data sources which are available for their ecosystem. So this is a pretty neat diagram that they have explained here. And then this is not just Google alone, but it's a collaboration of multiple contributors. You can see all of these interesting and important companies. So the idea here is when you think about the agents, right? So it will only generally know the resources which you have explicitly told it or shared with it. But what if there was a system in which the agent can just let the registry know that, hey, this is my intent. And then registry can actually find right tools or right resources for the agent to solve that particular problem, right? So this is where the combination of a catalog of the resource directory and then the registry, which kind of matches the intent to that catalog, comes together and really supercharges the system, right? So this is a problem which we may not face like on a day-to-day basis because we may not be having like hundreds of agents, but when there are a lot of agents and a lot of resources and a lot of tools available, this is a problem that will happen, especially in a production environment. So I did make a deep dive video on this. So I'm happy to drop a link for you to go back and refer to it as well. All right. So the fourth one is open knowledge format, right? So this is another interesting one. I also did a deep dive on this as well. So if you think about this, if ARD is about how agents discover tools and other agents, OKF is actually about how they discover and access knowledge stored across different sources. So a brand new open standard. So again, I made a full deep dive video on this. So please go refer to that. But it's a pretty interesting one as well. So really, when you zoom out, A2A turning one, the A2UI plus MCP patterns, ARD and OKF, that's 4 open agent standards updates from Google in just about a week, not just specs, but with partners, with demos, with sample code. That's why I'm calling this Open Agent Standards Week. So it's a really big deal for anyone who's building agents at scale. Okay. So that was one segment. Moving on. All right. So the next big story is Gemini CLI is officially gone. And Google posted this update on the Gemini CLI discussions on GitHub. And you can see the headline here, Gemini CLI stopped serving requests for individual accounts. And they've clearly explained the path forward, which is the Antigravity CLI. And they've also explained the installation for this and the setup. And another reminder is the Antigravity CLI will automatically detect your local Gemini CLI directory during installation, and it will copy all the skills, MCP servers, your existing agent profiles, and all the memory capability, right? So this is a direction which has already been taken. I'm hoping that whoever was using Gemini CLI, you already moved to Antigravity CLI. Now, moving on, this is a really exciting one I want to talk about, right? So this one is the Google's intensive vibe coding course, which is happening right now. I think today is the last day. And this is second year in a row, right? So like last year, it reached 1.5 million learners. And then this is back and you can see what they also do is once you register, you will get papers every day. And then you can see what is being covered here, right? So the first day is really the new sort of like software development lifecycle when it comes to vibe coding. They shared this particular white paper. This is the foundation paper, if you will. So it draws the line between casual vibe coding and vibe coding with a disciplined agentic engineering, right? So I went through this white paper end to end, and I really liked how it ended, right? So they're talking about the generative AI generation is largely solved. Now verification, security, and architectural judgment are the new crap, right? So it's pretty cool. I would recommend that you register, and then that way you can get access to these white papers. These are some of the other white papers that were also released. So every day they released an individual white paper. You can see all of those white papers over here. Okay. So that was the 5-day intensive vibe coding course. You can see day 2 was agent tools and interoperability, agent skills, vibe coding, agent security and evaluation, and then spec driven production. Pretty good. I love these 5-day intensive courses. It's free of cost from Google. So that's amazing. So I'll leave the link to this in the description. So hopefully that will be helpful. And if you want me to go deep into any day specific topic, right, any one of these, again, please let me know in the comment section and I'll be happy to work on a video around that. Okay. So that was another update that I wanted to capture. Okay. So the next one is Google AMIE model, which also got published in Nature. So this is a really big one because this is Google Research medical AI for disease management. And in this paper, they also show that AMI hit physician level performance on disease management. They compared it against 21 primary care physicians on plan preciseness and guideline alignment. And AMI either matched or actually exceeded the physicians on both metric. Again, important context here, this is a research paper, not a public product, so you cannot use this today. I'll again leave the link in the description for all the things that I'm talking about here. But this is, again, fantastic progress. Now, the next one is even more interesting because this shows you an example of how AI can be used real world scenarios as well. Mine announced this last week where they're partnering with the UK government, and this is where they're co-developing AI tools to help local councils speed up the planning decisions. And the result is real, right? So they're seeing 50% reduction in planning decision times, which is pretty high, right? And so really why this matters because housing approval bottlenecks are a huge constraint in the UK. So if AI can cut the planning time in half, that translates directly to more homes getting built. And this one is the clearest example I've seen agentic AI being applied to a real social problem at the government level. Okay. So that's another thing that I wanted to share. All right. Lastly, remember that flight simulator we started at the beginning. So let me actually show you how you can get there. So I'm here in Google, earth.google.com. So you need to be on the web, right? So let's say that I want to go to Chicago. So I just type in that city and then it will take me to Chicago, right? So I'm here. And then within tools here, you have the flight simulator. You actually are now in the cockpit and you're flying the plane. So it's pretty cool. You can control it both with your mouse as well as keyboard, and you can really have a lot of fun with it. Just don't crash it. If you crash it, then you can start again. But I had a lot of fun just visiting my old memories when I used to live in Chicago. So you can see, and it flies like fighter jet, right? So, but it's pretty beautiful if you look at this. Yeah, so go try it, give it a shot, just don't crash. So just go to Google Earth on the web. That's earth.google.com. Click on the menu, look at the flight simulator. That's it, right? And pick a city, pick a mountain, pick anywhere, and tag me if you find a cool spot. I want to see them too. Okay. So that was your week in Google AI. If this was useful, please subscribe. I do this every Friday so that you can get a consolidated view of everything happening in the world of Google AI. Please do let me know in the comment section if you guys have any question. And of course, if you like the video, please hit that like button as well. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.